Aloha e komamai. My name is Joy Lacanyanta, and I'm one of the facilitators for the Inner Peace series. We are very honored today. This is session 6. We have Dr. Maya Sotoring, and she's a consultant on the international team at the Obama Foundation and the faculty specialist at the University of Hawai'i, not to mention a good friend and my mentor as well. Previously, she was the director of the Matsunaga Institute for Peace at the University of Hawai'i at Mānoa, where in addition to leading outreach and development initiatives, she also taught leadership for social change, peace movements, peace education, and conflict management. For many years, she worked at the University of Hawai'i College of Education, where she taught multicultural education, social studies, methods, and peace education at both the graduate and undergraduate level. Maya sits on several voluntary boards, so many different organizations, nonprofit, doing good things in the world, and is the co-founder of the nonprofit Seeds of Peace, the Peace Studio, and the Institute for Climate and Peace. So thank you so much for being here and for joining us. So I'm going to head it now and introduce Dr. Maya Sotoring. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mahalo Joy, for doing this series for your students and other students and for community members. I've enjoyed the sessions that you've done so far and always am learning and appreciate all that you do to bring mindfulness into your work and into the lives of so many. I love the responses that we're getting in chat. My water is the Pacific and spiritual practices, including meditation. My earth is Maui, this beautiful aina under my feet. Joining in from Mauna Wili, Oahu, got a chance to jump in. Part of the Pacific here near me in Kailua, nice. My water is the fresh waters of Haiku, Maui. My earth is Israel, India, and of course Maui. My earth is Singapore, my water meditation, yoga, and my spouse. My water is the Atlantic, where I spent my childhood, my earth, Arizona. My water is anything related to freedom, from mental to physical freedom. My earth is, well, non-existent. Interesting. My water is reaching out and being able to observe personal growth from within, and my earth is the beautiful Hawaiian Islands. My water is the rain and my earth is Oahu. So that's some of the people in the class this evening. And I love being able to situate you in my mind, even though you are simultaneously everywhere. The idea is that we are, so many of us, not just about the things that we do, but it's also the places that make us feel grounded, that make us feel connected. We bring with us ancestral wisdom. We bring with us, the energy of the aina of the land itself. So grateful for your sharing and really grateful to be here with you today. Should first offer up a land acknowledgement, acknowledging Hawaii as an indigenous space, whose original people, Kanaka Maoli, Native Hawaiians, teach us a great deal and have offered over generations knowledge and wisdom that has shaped Hawaii in a sustainable way. The aina on which I sit right now is located in the Ahupua'a of Waikiki, on the Mokupuni of Oahu, and in the Pai'aina of Hawaii. I am truly grateful to be able to raise my children here. So thank you very much. So the topic today is interbeing and loving kindness, metta meditation for a modern world. A meditation is something to which I was introduced many years ago, however, have been in recent months more committed and deeply grateful for the opportunities to use meditation to make me feel calm and centered in the storm. We are weathering so many different storms today, and that requires resilience and adaptability. It means that we have to have a strength-based approach to who we are as people, as leaders, as lovers, as thinkers, expressing love and kindness bravely for others in need. So meditation, in my view, is not just about personal peace. It is that, but it is also about connecting us lovingly to others, and to have a rich and deep sense of responsibility, not just for those who are near, but also those who are different and distant. So we'll offer a tiny bit of background, and then we will have a practice. My thinking is that we can begin with those things that offer personal peace, and then move to those things that can enhance interpersonal peace and peace for all in the universe. And I do want to have a conversation with Q&A before we close today. So if you do have any questions, you want to add them to Q&A, you want to add them to chat, I think that's a beautiful thing. I first invite all of you to engage today with an open mind, and hopefully to surrender to this moment, but also how you are feeling today, whether it's watching news or experiencing hardships or trauma or burnout or other life events firsthand. It is so nice to be able to surrender for a few minutes to the here and the now, to get centered and, to feel a sense of stability underneath your feet. I think that there are so many challenges and obstacles that we faced in pursuing and sustaining personal peace, but also global peace. There is an essay by Arundhati Roy, who's a wonderful writer. It's called Pandemic is a Portal. And it's really about the fact that pandemics have traditionally forced people to break with the past and imagine their world anew. And this one is no different. It's a portal, it's a gateway between one world and the next, wherein we can envision a new and connected world and reimagine our role in it. And perhaps the spirit and structures that we need are already here in communities that have an innate understanding that each person's survival and flourishing depends on everyone else's, but also already here in us. We have everything that we need. And the power of metta meditation in today's world is, again, to connect and ground ourselves in interbeing. But that's not just in interbeing with others, it's also in interbeing with nature. It's not just other humans. And it is also about connecting with our deepest selves and our layered selves. So my hope is that each of you can, explore your personal practice, but also reflect on how you are engaging with yourself and your community and the world around you. For me, metta meditation really goes hand in hand with servant leadership, which has been very important to me as I worked with genocide survivors, gun violence victims, as I confront climate grief. I have needed a meditative practice that would give me personal peace, but also help me develop a sense of agency. And of course, metta meditation is also something that goes hand in hand with parenthood. At various times in my parenting journey, I did realize that there was only so much I could control. And a central concept has had to be for me to develop a sense of peace and surrender, to send loving kindness to my children, but also to be patient with myself. And so with metta meditation, we look at widening circles of peace, beginning with self, with those who are near, and then again with distant and different others. So I wanted to say that it does require self-acceptance, as you saw in the previous slide. And it requires an acceptance sometimes of the moment in which we find ourselves. And it does require an acceptance of both the presence of suffering and joy simultaneously, that we can experience both at the same time. I know I have, and I know that I do on a near daily basis, find myself able to contain both of those things, together, suffering and happiness, joy and sorrow. I do want to share that this work is an important part of the work of Thich Nhat Hanh. Here are some quotes from Thich Nhat Hanh, and it just shows you some of the variety of topics that he explores in his work. He is, as most of you probably know, a Vietnamese monk. He was nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize by Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. because of his work around the Vietnam War. But he has continued to be a peace activist. He's the founder of Plum Village. He's been a great influence on those who emphasize community and collective meditation, interbeing, mindful movement building. He's really challenged the sort of Western individualistic idea of meditation sometimes, where it's just about personal peace or interpreted as such. And he's also challenged competitive culture, which can rupture our sense of belonging and interconnectedness. So Thich Nhat Hanh speaks about how our survival is dependent on another survival. And I have for a long time been lingering on his concept of engaged spirituality. This concept, of course, also aligns with our commitment to address and redress emotional and social suffering and injustice. So I do his meditation at the end of service days, where I ask to bear witness to the suffering of the world and receive the pain of the world on an in-breath. And then I send healing peace to the world on the out-breath, or receive the healing of the world on the in-breath and expel my pain on the out-breath. So these things are things that we will do together in a guided meditation section in a bit, but all of that makes me feel so much like I'm connected to faraway others. I want to first have you just take a minute and read some of these quotes. So let's just take 2 minutes and read them silently. Consider them in your own life. Again, this shows kind of the brave dimension of engagement with Thich Nhat Hanh. This notion that it is about education, it is about how we raise our children, it is about how we love other children. It is about getting rid of punitive ideas and instead thinking about restorative ideas. It is about letting go. It is about minimizing our possessions and our attachments. It's about personal and collective liberation, and is about an appreciation of the real miracle of life and earth and every day, and the beauty and the bounty of all that we experience here if we are mindful and present. So let us take a minute now and let's do a bearing witness meditation. And so I'd love for you all to close your eyes, and I will just guide you through the meditation I just described. Just listen to my voice. Let us take this time to acknowledge and bear witness to the suffering of the world, to bravely receive the pain of the world with our deep in-breath. So take a deep breath in, lower your shoulders, have a big belly breath, expand your abdomen. And now expel that breath and send healing peace to the world with our full out breath. And again, Breathe in, make sure you fill your belly. Relax your shoulders and release. Feel free to make noise with the release. Release loving kindness and imagine it spreading across a great distance to those in need. Let's do that again. Take a deep in-breath, fill your belly bravely. Imagine all of the pain and suffering of the world contained in you, but you are safe. You can get ever bigger. You can get ever wider. You can expand infinitely, and you can contain all the suffering. And now expel it. Expel it and release loving kindness to those in need. Imagine it rippling out with light after a cleansing process inside your belly. Your loving kindness goes out to all in need. Now let us receive the light. Let us receive the light, the compassion, the healing of the world with our in-breath. Take it in. Again, feel your belly expand. Feel the compassion, the love, the healing of the world come into you through every pore, every orifice. And with our out-breath, expel any pain, stress, or fear that you may be holding on to. And again, imagine the light coming into your body. Receive the light, compassion, and healing of the world on that in-breath. Let it cleanse you. Let it course through every part of your body. Imagine the light moving and swirling. And now expel that breath. And with it, any sorrow, any anxiety, any tension. Feel connected now. Feel connected to everyone on this call, everyone on this class, and to the universe entire. Accept the loving support of the universe and trust that the universe can shoulder any of your sorrow. Let's do it one more time. Bring that light in. And then send all your sorrow out lovingly in connection. And do that 2 more times and then open your eyes. Okay, thank you. So that's a very short metta meditation. It's very basic. I really believe in short meditations. I think that my meditation habit, it did not start in the dojo or the meditation center. It started with 2-minute meditations that I use to clear out any negative energy, any anxiety, any stress, or sorrow in my own life, or that sense of harried breathlessness that I have sometimes felt. So I really want to share with you some of the 2-minute meditations that I do. One of them is that bearing witness. Now that was we did 5 minutes together, but we can do that for 2 minutes just to connect with others and to feel when you see something happening in the news or when you feel anxious about your incapacity to help others. A metta meditation can help you feel more connected and empowered. Other 2-minute meditations, perhaps using a mala with beads, wrist mala, or necklace mala, where you start in the center or the mother bead. Breathe deeply through your nose and out through your mouth while rubbing each of the beads between your thumb and index fingers until you return to the mother bead. You can do a worry stone, rub the stone and breathe in deeply through your nose and out through your mouth while rubbing each side of the stone and its edges. And with each breath, relax body parts, top to bottom. You can spend 2 minutes following things in motion, noticing the clouds, people, dogs, trees, leaves, and other things in motion. You can follow with your eyes as an ant crawls on the grass or a drop of water drips off of a leaf and lands on soil. You can do a 2-minute slow as possible walk, heel to toe, paying attention to all of your senses as you walk for 2 minutes. Matters not how far you get. You can do a 2-minute meditation laying down where you count your breaths with one hand on your belly and one hand on your chest, doing deep belly breaths, feeling your belly expand, and then doing a chest breath to feel your chest expand and alternate for the 2 minutes. You can do a 2-minute meditation that is sitting, imagining white light winding through your body and each body part, sending love and care to your toes, to your thighs, to your knees, to your calves, ankles, feet, moving your toes, your whole body feeling light, bringing awareness to your breathing as you do, and the falling and rising of your abdomen and spirit. You can do 2-minute body scans going from top to bottom, jaw, shoulders, etc., working your way down and imagining each body part melting, sighing, or sinking into the earth. You can do a 2-minute mindful meditation where you look, you touch, you see, you smell, you place, taste, chew, swallow, finish, and reflect on the experience. You can even include in that 2-minute mindful eating meditation reflection on those who grew your food, who made it, who prepared it, who brought it to your local community. You can do a 2-minute acupressure meditation where you tap or press the top of the head, under the eye, the temples, under the nose, the clavicle, center of chest, under the armpits, cycling through 3 times, taking deep breaths and practicing acceptance. Remember that you can do 2-minute meditations and forgiveness, forgiving others near or far. You can imagine that person coming to you, whether they are dead or alive, and you can forgive them. Say the words to yourself of forgiveness and be clear on what you're forgiving them for. Have them respond in your mind. See their face, the texture of the light around them, their expression. Talk to that person on the soul level. Or you can ask a person for forgiveness in 2 minutes, whether they are dead or alive. So these are just some of the many things that we can do each day to connect with self, to connect with others, and indeed to connect with the world entire, to help us to feel empowered in a time and in a world that feels undulating, ever-changing, and makes us feel vulnerable. When we practice metta meditation, the idea here is that we are observing our feelings, our reactions, and our understanding of self deepens. We see how our fears contribute to unhappiness, and we see the value of loving ourselves and cultivating a heart of compassion. I would like for you now to take a minute and think about who you are dedicating this metta meditation time today upcoming to. Is there a conflict, a relationship that warrants observation, notice, deeper awareness and understanding in your life? And maybe it is the relationship with self that you need to focus on. That's entirely possible, plausible, and a wonderful, valuable thing to do. But maybe there is someone else. Maybe it's someone you know, or maybe it is someone who represents an idea, a philosophy, a political or social stance with which you disagree, you know. But think about, take a minute and really think about where you want to see some of that increased harmony and repair. And just take 1 minute and just jot down some notes and about this relationship. Okay, just take a minute to do that, and I'll be right back. All right, well, hold that person in your heart and in your mind. And, you know, congratulations on being brave enough to do that work. The definition of metta is the heartfelt wish for the well-being of oneself and others. But it is also a kind of meditation that welcomes conflict as a point and source of learning and growth. It is in keeping with this notion of conflict transformation, wherein not all conflicts can be fully resolved, but they can all be transformed. If we are feeling, experiencing, and suffering because of a conflict, we can take that conflict and understand, or trauma, and trauma is also a conflict, and understand that this is an opportunity for us to understand more deeply what is in need of our attention, what is in need of our loving kindness, our energy, our life force, right? And so with metta meditation, you don't isolate yourself from the world, from geopolitics, from, you know, suffering, sorrow, conflict. You welcome it as an opportunity to expand your strength as a source of loving kindness and connection. So it requires that we lean into our discomfort sometimes, and we be brave. Metta meditation, though, is also about personal peace. That's why I say sometimes you are thinking about transforming a conflict with someone who has passed on, or someone who has an opposing political view. They may not be able to come to you and say, forgive me, or I forgive you. They may not be able to face the conflict themselves, or to have the courage to connect with you in spite of the difference between you. But this is about you building a sense of peace, moving away from fear in order to practice loving kindness with clarity and serenity and ease your suffering, regardless of how the other person responds. And in doing so, you decrease the suffering of the world. I really believe that, you know, in the aggregate. And it also means that in that place of conflict, you do not agitate, you do not enhance, you do not contribute to the negative, destructive, violent energy of conflict, right? So you accept your personal responsibility. You can perceive solutions, the truth, wisdom, and you can react more benevolently, right? According to Thich Nhat Hanh, our field of consciousness contains every possible kind of seed, and meditation can water and bring the seeds of peace, joy, and love into our conscious mind to yield extraordinary growth for ourselves and others. And so the question becomes, what seeds are you watering, you know, on a daily basis, with each word you utter, with each thought you have, right? And so the idea of ahimsa, or nonviolence, is that you try not to engage in violence in word, thought, or deed, right? And metta meditation helps you to address all of those facets of nonviolence. Metta meditation is also about looking and listening deeply. How often do we give ourselves a chance to look and listen deeply. We're always so harried. So it's a conflict resolution and transformation tool that is used by me, at least in negotiations and mediations. It is about having the patience and creating the space to look deeply within our own hearts, but also into the words and consciousness of others. When we look deeply and listen deeply, we are not listening simply to the words as they exist, but to the meaning behind the words, to the truth that is unspoken, to the things that reside beneath and between. And in so doing, we feel and understand more fully. And it is about recognizing that the world needs our optimism, which means it needs our happiness, our care, and our participation. So we need to not only heal ourselves, but constantly reiterate our connection and responsibility to others, and see happiness as a precondition to full participation. If I heal myself enough, I can be a positive force in the world. I can do good. My life will have greater meaning and purpose. So that's why we begin with ourselves and then move outwards. It allows us to consider ourselves as gardeners who help flowers grow, right? So once we can change for the better, once we can begin with that inner circle, we can become more effective growers. And even if we end up devoting our lives to watering for trees under whose shade we will never sit, we will feel the future and the possibility of greater peace and justice through Metta meditation and the stillness of looking deeply into the human condition that it allows. So for me, Metta meditation is the meditation that aligns most closely with social justice and human rights. But it does begin very simply with that looking. How is my body? How are my thoughts? How are my feelings? How are my perceptions? How is my consciousness? And how are others walking, feeling, thinking, and perceiving? Beginning with self and looking deeply at others. And so I want you to take that person or that genre of person that you chose to focus today's meditation on. And I want you to take 2 minutes now first and ask yourself the question of where you are in consideration of this person. Imagine that person beside you. First, attend to yourself. As that person is beside you, what is the effect on your body, your thoughts, your feelings, your perceptions, your consciousness, right? And then turn your attention to that person. Obviously, you're imagining that person there, probably in most cases. But turn to that person in your mind and ask how they are walking, feeling, thinking, and perceiving in this moment. And ground yourself in these questions and in looking deeply. So feel free to turn your cameras off during this time and feel free to close your eyes to imagine more fully. But really think about this, and I'll come back in 2 minutes. Okay, wrap that up. Thank you for taking that time. As always, really put your feet on the floor. As we're coming up, we're going to do the full Metta meditation soon. But really feel the floor beneath you, feel its temperature, its texture, curl your toes a little bit, push your shoulders back. Feel free to, if you need to make adjustments, to roll your head from side to side. When we do meditation in community, it's sometimes important to be very still, but in this instance, that's not necessary. So you can roll a little bit from right to left, make adjustments. You can stretch your neck, and we spend so much time hunched over, so you can also put your shoulders back, lean back, and roll your shoulders, and let your jaw go slack. Take deep breaths, but thank you for doing sort of the prep work there in terms of thinking about this relationship. We're going to, again, go through a slightly longer metta meditation that begins with self, moves on to the specific other, and I want you to keep in mind the person you have chosen. And then we will move outward in ever-widening circles to the larger community and world. And again, feel free to close your eyes, and really, when you let go your breath, release it fully, and take this time to feel all parts of your body, and to, again, release and trust that your seat, the ground, the universe can shoulder anything. All right, so close your eyes. When we are in the grips of fear, we close down and can't be compassionate. To love others, we have to first be loving and gentle with ourselves. We always begin metta with self and move outward. Perhaps we begin with the aspiration to be free from fear. May I be free from fear? We look deeply within our being to understand the source of our fears, our reactions to it, and then we can begin to let go, to free ourselves. Let's first prepare the body with a quick body scan from the top of your head to the bottom of your feet. Taking deep breaths, relax your forehead, your eyebrows, your eyes, your ears, nose, mouth, your tongue, your neck, your shoulders. Breathe in deeply through your nose, fill your belly with breath, and out through your mouth. Relax your back, the muscles on either side of your spine. Relax your hips, your knees, your calves, your shins, your ankles, feet. Relax your toes, your soles, your palms, your fingertips, your elbows. Fill yourself with breath. Feel your belly rise. Imagine the sunlight streaming into your body. The light comes in through your nose, your ears, your insides are bathed with light. It's gentle, it's warm, it's coursing through, it's clearing out. The weight of yesterday, the worry of tomorrow, it's gone. You feel soft. The light coming through you is the spirit and energy of those whom you love. It's protecting you. It's making you feel safe. You feel at home. You are here. You are in community. You are surrounded by ancestors, your family, your friends, your loved ones, those whom you know and scarcely know are around you, supporting, nurturing, guiding. Let your space fill up. Recognize the full beauty and bounty of your life. Feel everyone entering the room and this moment. Feel their presence on this day. Feel drenched with gratitude for all that you have been given. Great. Now that that preparation has taken place, let's begin with the recitation in your mind of aspiration. May I be peaceful, happy, and light in body and spirit. Say that out loud if you wish, or say it silently. May I be peaceful, happy, and light in body and spirit. May I be safe and free from injury. Say that out loud or in your mind. May I be safe and free from injury. May I be free from fear, anxiety, anger, and afflictions. Say that out loud or in your mind. May I be free from fear, anxiety, anger, and afflictions. I'm going to say all three once again. Say them in your mind after I do. May I be peaceful, happy, and light in body and spirit. May I be safe and free from injury. May I be free from anxiety, anger, and afflictions. Now think of that specific other you chose. Maybe it's someone you love. Maybe it's someone you fear. Maybe it's someone you loathe or think you loathe. And now send your loving kindness to this person. Say out loud or to yourself, may he or she be peaceful, happy, and light in body and spirit. May he or she be peaceful, happy, and light in body and spirit. May he or she be safe and free from injury. May he or she be safe and free from injury. And thirdly, may he or she be free from fear, anxiety, anger, and afflictions. May he or she be free from fear, anxiety, anger, and afflictions. I will say all three again. Please repeat in your mind, thinking of this person, bathing them in loving kindness. May he or she be peaceful, happy, and light in body and spirit. May he or she be free from injury and safe. May he or she be free from fear, anxiety, anger, and afflictions. Now, think of distant others, Perhaps think of the community entire, or if you want to leap to the world entire or to the universe entire. Send your loving kindness to your community, to your world, to the universe. Imagine it flowing freely with strength and grace and beauty. May all be peaceful, happy, and light in body and spirit. May all be peaceful, happy, and light in body and spirit. May all be safe and free from injury. Really feel it. Feel your feelings flow, feelings of loving kindness. May all be free from anxiety, anger, and affliction. Your feelings are flowing like a strong and powerful river. Each feeling is a drop of water in that river. Each moment is a drop in a widening ocean of loving kindness. Thank you. Because of time, I want you to open your eyes. And I want you just to reflect on the meditation. You can make it much longer. You can spend time looking at your perceptions, your thinking, seeing whether they are based in truth, fear, or courage, strength. You can take a look at wrong perceptions, which are like a snake in the darkness, ready to betray that loving kindness with its bite. Maybe you can take some time to think about any hatred or malice directed at you as perhaps being sourced from insecurity. So the idea is that loving kindness meditation helps you to look with clarity and serenity at yourself and others, examining mental formations, examining the influence, not just of individual consciousness and circumstance, but also collective consciousness of family, ancestors, and society. Again, thinking about which seeds do you want to water. In all of these visualizations, as you think about your own and others' organs, the way they are breathing, sitting, walking, and talking, observing the external realities as well as internal. When you send loving kindness, what you are doing is saying, I am breathing for you. I am looking for you. I'm understanding for you. I am growing wisdom for you. I enjoy life for you. And I know that you are close to me and you are in me. You say that to those who have passed on. You say that to those who have made you suffer. And in all of this, there is a great reverence for life, an awareness of the suffering that is caused by destructive energy, and a commitment to the cultivation of insight in interbeing and compassion, as well as an enlivening of your kuleana, your responsibility to protect lives of people and animals, to preserve plants and other resources. In metta meditation, you become more determined not to kill or to support acts of killing. You see that harmful actions arise from fear, greed, and intolerance. You see them well, and you let go of fear, greed, and intolerance to cultivate non-discrimination and openness, to transform conflict, and to make no room for violence, fanaticism, and dogmatism, because your loving kindness is flowing in such big and bountiful ways, right? So my hope is that you can feel empowered by this practice. And whether you are verbalizing out loud, writing down what the truth of this relationship, please take responsibility for the relationship. Write down what you have learned about this relationship, about your non-negotiables, about what to do, what not to do. And then think, What are you going to do with what you have learned? Make a commitment to purposeful action, large or small, to enhance loving kindness, to cultivate peace in your family and community. So I really feel that in the aggregate, all of us, if we practice this meditation, we can have a revolution of compassion, right? And in a time when so many countries and regions of the world are burning with fear and hatred, we have to stop the violence first by addressing our own fear and rewriting the stories in the perspective of distant and different others, growing loving kindness, even when it's uncomfortable and difficult, maybe especially when it's uncomfortable or difficult. So I will send some resources to Kumu Joy and resources for educators. I really do invite you to be part of the nonprofit Seeds of Peace, which brings together school, family, community, and that's with a C, CEEDS of peace. We have a toolkit that is open source, a collaboratory, a space for community source solutions and ideas and resources, lots of online resources for engagement and to share. And I also would love for you to be a part of our Institute for Climate and Peace. It's a climate justice organization that I co-founded, a nonprofit with Maxine Burkett. Seeds of Peace I co-founded with Dr. Carrie Rosevich, who's an early childhood specialist. And the Institute for Climate and Peace works on the intersection of climate and peace building, looking at information and collaboration and policy transformation. And I also co-founded a nonprofit called the Peace Studio, which works with creatives, artists, journalists to tell stories of peace building around the world, to enhance our courage and our collaboration and shared engagement for movement building that helps creatives of all kinds to build their peace building identity. So in closing, I'd like to ask that each of you considers one small action that you can take to take the spirit of Metta meditation into your world and community and life. Does that look like checking in with someone in need? Does it look like advocacy? Does it look like poetry? Does it look like journaling to check in with yourselves or continuing the work of conflict transformation? There is a Aboriginal elder, Lilla Watson, and someone shared this with me recently as a quote: "If you've come here to help me, you're wasting your time. But if you've come because your liberation is bound up with mine, then let us work together." And my hope is that this time enables you to think about not only servant leadership as a contribution, but as a commitment to and recognition of shared liberation, wherein our freedom of mind, body, and spirit is so deeply and intrinsically bound with others that this meditation will help to free ourselves and others. I would be so grateful if you would just take one moment, we have 1 minute left, and put in the chat, what is one thing you are going to do to take the loving kindness of Metta and impact the world's community space around you. And thank you all so much for your presence, for your participation, for your beauty, and for building beloved community together.
Mahalo, Dr. Maya Satoru Ing, for being with us today. Do you have time to stay just in case some folks have questions, clarifications?
I absolutely do. I can stay as long as you need.
Yes, thank you so much, Dr. Joy, for providing such a sacred space for us of wisdom and learning and growing. It is such a blessing to me. Meditation is a part of my practice, Dr. Maya, and I constantly, I believe it's not just something I believe it's something I do at all times. I'm conscious of things around me, but this was the first time that I heard about bringing conflict and transformation into my meditation. And so that was very helpful to me as we walked through and you took us through. The one person is one person that I have never wanted to put it's a political figure, and I'd rather not think about him or those kind of things. But as you invited us to I brought him for the very first time. And I believed that I got transformation that I needed, because there are places when I think about that individual that I get tight or angry or just feel uncomfortable. And so my question to you is, going forward, when I think about conflict, transformation, and I shared this with others because there's so many that I know that need the metta in that way. Is that something that once you do that one act and you release that person, you just let that go and work on your own? Or do you consciously put that person in a sacred space that you continue to nurture that transformation?
Oh, thank you for that question. That's such a nuanced question, really, and I think it depends on how entangled you are with that person and how complex the feelings and layered, right? And so, and also how much that person continues to impact your day to day, So if the person is ready to be released, then I think you release them. But sometimes you have to come back again and again. So I do metta meditations and forgiveness meditations with my mother, for instance. She was my person. We had a complex relationship. It was deep, it was good, it was loving, it was profound, but it was also complicated, right? And the more she died 25 years ago, the more I learn about her and read things in her journals and stuff, the more complicated I realized she was, right? So there are layers that for me, I have to revisit that relationship again and again. I have to revisit it in motherhood. I have to revisit it as, sort of my trauma comes back up from childhood, and, and I recognize her failure to protect me. I have to revisit it when I just long to rest my head and miss her terribly because she offered me that unconditional love, right? So for her, but then there may be someone who throws up a finger at you in traffic, and you may be, you just need that one quick 2-minute. Yeah, and then you're good. And then you can release that because you know what that is about, right? And that's not about you. That is about their anxiety and frustration and their inability to physically bypass irritation and annoyance and calm themselves, right? And so, I think it really depends, but it's a good question, one that we should think about, because it will enable us to sort of consider, hey, do I need to do this more? Is there more work I need to do in this relationship or in this space? And you can be very deliberate about taking that on,
Okay. I actually have a question. So Dr. Myosotor Ing is actually in the process of being given permission to practice Zen Buddhism, and it's a long journey, as she mentioned. So my question to you is, when you practice metta meditation before, what has been different now that you have
I'm training
you're training to become a monk or priest in the priesthood for Zen Buddhism?
Well, to be honest with you, metta meditation is something that I used before my deeper Zen training.
Mhm.
And my Zen training has often been focused on nothingness, emptiness, complete surrender, complete inner stillness. It has been much less busy than metta meditation, because metta meditation it's very active, it's very athletic, a lot of the time. Now, that doesn't mean that I don't incorporate it. Sometimes when I'm practicing Zen and I'm in meditation and I've been sitting there for 50 hours, 50 hours, 50 minutes, 50 minutes, I do feel without thinking, just a deep connection to the universe entire. I feel nourished by, loved fully, and the effects of metta meditation are very similar to what I experienced there in the emptiness. But it's just a very different process. One, Zen really is about turning off my mind completely, whereas metta meditation is about feeling, but it begins by thinking and reflecting. For me, the kind of there are many kinds of metta meditation I should share, but the kind that I practice is really about connecting me with the real time. So what I do is I practice sort of Zen meditation 3 days a week for 50 minutes each day. And then on the other days, I go to nature and I'll do metta meditation. Or I'll do it when I am reading the news or listening to the news, or I'll do it as I am moving in community. There are different ways, though, that we can weave metta meditation into any kind of practice, any spiritual work, because it really is very fundamentally just about loving kindness. And there's a purity, clarity, and simplicity about that. At its very fundamental level, you can strip away the thinking and the reflection if you wish, and move just to pure sensation and absorption.
I just wanted to say that I really do appreciate this meditation. I've never done something personally like this. And like Kalani said, it was super interesting to put someone into your meditation that you may have difficulties with, or don't feel that something is there. And I've never done that before, because it's always been meditations working on myself. So I really did enjoy this, and I want to embed this further into my meditations. And I'm glad I joined the Zoom meeting.
Oh, thank you. I am also glad that you did. I'm glad you all did. I really appreciate that.
Looping back to the Seeds of Peace and also the Peace Studio.
Well, I joined this because, the Inner Peace series, since it did feel topical, but I was suggested to expand out to the Seeds of Peace organization. And I hope if I'm able to, I would like to see what I can do and volunteer with the organization.
Yeah.
Yes, so I'm just putting the websites here, cutting and pasting for you for the 3 nonprofits. And I would love for you to learn more, all of you, about all 3. There are definitely opportunities to volunteer, and I can connect you with our executive director, Scott Nishimoto, or others that are working on special projects like Ivy Lee, who works specifically on the Youth Talk Back and Girls Talk Back series. So we have people who are working specifically on our collaborative of resources, so there are a number of people, but just send me an email, and those are the 3 nonprofits right there: Peace Studio, Seeds of Peace, the Institute for Climate and Peace. And then what you can do is just send me an email that says, like who you are, what you care about, what you're interested in, having taken a look at the website and some of the resources, what appeals to you, what you would, how you might like to participate. And then I'll connect you to the proper person in the organization. But yes, welcome your participation, welcome your contributions for sure.
And I will post Dr. Sotoring's email. Should I do the hawaii.edu email? Mm-hmm. Yeah, I will forward her email so that you can contact her. She's such a wealth of resource in the community and also in peace studies. So this is one of the purpose of the Inner Peace series, is not just to practice on ourselves, but also like Metta meditation. What we've learned is to extend that peace outwardly, because I think that's the only way that we can really do true transformation, peace transformation. Are there any other comments, not just from the students, but other folks who've stayed on? Thank you so much for staying on.
Yeah, I think most of the community has left, but I definitely appreciate couple of you who have stayed on. So in next semester, I'm just doing the practicum seminar, and I am working to build the Obama Foundation Leaders Asia Pacific program, which is a leadership program that works in the Asia Pacific region, as well as the Girls Opportunity Alliance engagements here in Hawaii, and in addition to being the graduate chair at the Matsunaga Institute. So I will be teaching other classes in the future, but for the time being, there's so much that is new that I am nourishing and building that I can't teach another class other than the practicum seminar. But in the future, by all means, and do also spend some time, looking at the Matsunaga Institute, the resources. We have a lot of programs. This is an example of a program we support, but we have many thought partners, and we have webinars and workshops and things that you can do. Additionally, I'm on the International Advisory Board for the United States Institute of Peace, which is the large peace institute in Washington, D.C., working with different conflict countries, and it's a bipartisan. It involves like action tank, think tank, but also there are publications, there's education, and we have a middle school and high school toolkit for educators, but we also have there like 15 courses that are completely free, that are online, that are deep dives and really wonderful courses. You can even get a little certificate, and there's a scope and sequence there that you can undertake if you really want to learn a lot of these, and you can I think share that with others, learn a lot of these skills of conflict resolution and transformation and peace building. The idea here is that, the hope is that you all see yourselves as peace building leaders, and that peace becomes a very broad umbrella under which can be found many of the concepts that we teach at the Matsunaga Institute. So, human rights, social justice, personal peace, indigenous peace, leadership for social change, peace education. It's so many things, right? And each of you has a different definition, priority, and skill set. And it's about you finding the place where you can enter that stream and choose to participate. And, I think we need all of you.
Dr. Maya, I'd like to clarify that loving kindness is already in us, even though we may suffer from stress, anxiety, that loving kindness there's maybe just a little bit within us. And if it just continues to grow, the more we release that stress and anxiety.
Yes, that's absolutely right, Jenna. Thank you. Loving kindness is in us. I at least believe that. There are those who have views of human nature as being very fundamentally competitive and greedy and reactive, right? And certainly we see that. We're not Pollyanna. Our heads aren't buried in the sand all the time. We see that there is sometimes not a lot of difference between humans and other non-human animals, that we are part of, this biological matrix that sometimes makes it hard for us to behave with the intellectual, spiritual wisdom and proactive gaze that is at the heart of our potential. But I tell you, the more that you look at mirror neurons, the way that we can find empathy so quickly, that we are biologically predisposed to that, that we can do anything in community, that we need connection to thrive, that we are capable of great acts of courage and heroism, where we basically sometimes dispense all safety and assurance to help others. Then you start thinking we are really quite extraordinary. And my firm belief is that we are born with loving kindness, and sometimes trauma makes it hard for us to express that, rather than the reverse. Rather than we are born based and violent, and then we are taught to be kind. I don't believe that. I think that it is our natural state, our inherent nature, that loving kindness, and so it is present. And we can conjure it. And when we do, we feel our own strength. And if we consider this is a great gift that we have, and it is a great gift that we can share, and you think that that is part of our identity, therefore. It's a part of our being, and you start sharing it a little bit, and you start getting stronger and braver, and you start feeling the vitality of the human spirit, the enormity of what we are capable of. And not in a way that takes away our humility, but in a way that allows us to feel fully the responsibility that we have for one another in interbeing,
It's so true. I just wanted to add too, for the Peace and Conflict Education, or PACE students, I've already uploaded the Seville Statement, which is a conference of social scientists, natural scientists, and they came together to discuss if people or human beings are predisposed to violence. And what they found out and actually proven is that we are not. We are born with innate kindness. It's harder to become to do acts of evil. Actually, it takes more effort to do that. So the innate kindness for us, and we are not predisposed to kill, because that was the killer man ape theory back then. So that is from a social science and natural science point of view. The experts have spoken as well. And so we have evidence-based proof that, you know, human beings have this innate ability for loving kindness towards ourselves and other people as well. But on that note, thank you very much, Dr. Maya Soetoro, for your wonderful presentation today. Thank you also, Yamamura Sensei, for co-hosting this with us, with the Honolulu Myohoji Temple. Yes, I really appreciate all of you for coming, you know, I mean, staying a little bit longer for us to have this sacred discussion about loving kindness and metta meditation. Okay.
Thank you for the lovely comments in the chat.
Right.
And thank you, Kumu Joy, for all you do.